Hey Dover, James from Sydney, Australia. How are you?
James from the Down Under, my brother. I'm doing fabulous. How are you? Welcome to the call.
Really well, thanks. Really well. How's
Good.
your health? How's your health?
Doing a lot better.
Great.
I wouldn't be all the way truthful if I said I was 100%. There's some lingering things, but
Yep.
for the most part, yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, fantastic. Glad to hear it, Dover.
I've never been to Australia, so I look forward to the day when I get to meet you down there.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd love it down here.
Yeah, I bet. Beautiful place. I've seen in pictures and videos. Yeah. All right, welcome. Who else has joined us? This is the Enriching Gifts Education Call, Dover here in Seattle, taking introductions. Super excited because I know Ron's going to bring the heat. By heat, I mean he's going to bring some phenomenal information to each and every one of us. So really, really excited about that. Anyone else? Come on out. We got another minute or two before we get the call started. I've already said hello to Michael and James from Australia. Who else has joined us?
Hello.
Hey, Dover, this is Ron.
Hey, Ron, welcome.
Yeah.
I heard someone else.
Steve in Texas.
Hey, Steve, welcome to the call. Great to hear from you.
Hi, Dover. This is Tana in North Dakota.
Hi, Tana, welcome to the call. All right, we'll give it another minute or so and then we'll get started. Ron, where are you at in the country today?
Well, we're actually up at the training center planting our garden.
Nice.
Yep, we got it all in today finally. It's taken us 3 days, but it's all in, and hopefully the weather will be decent for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and you sprinkle a little bit of that secret sauce on there, that GR8CF.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yep.
Welcome to the call. And for those of you that are just like, what the heck are these guys talking about? This is not code. Just look at the back of the, Enriching Gifts enzyme product and or some of the other products, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. So welcome to the call. Who else has joined us? This is the Enriching Gifts Education Call. And we've got a couple more joining us, and we will get the call started here. We like to be on time. And here we go. All right. Any last second introductions? This is the Enriching Gifts Education Call. We are, once again, man, these Wednesdays just keep flying around, but we're Wednesday, April 21st, 2021. And we are here taking the last second introductions for the call. So who else has joined us? Your name, where you're calling from. We'd love to welcome you to the call. All right, we've got a shy group on tonight. That's okay. If everyone can mute their lines, just so we don't have any background noise, and that way we'll keep a nice, crisp, clean, quiet call. And we will get the call started. So again, want to welcome all of you. My name is Dover here in the state of Washington, and very excited. Actually, feel honored to be a part of what this call is all about, which is really about our founder here at Enriching Gifts, our formulator, our educator, our mentor, our coach, our pops or our father in some cases, if Stephen and Talia are on the line. But just a dear friend to me. I've known Ron for many, many years. We've actually done some things around the world and changed a lot of lives together. So this is an individual who has trained me in the field of microscopy, and I just really owe so much to you, Ron, and appreciate everything that you do for all of us. So with that, I want to say welcome all of you to the call, and I want to bring out our host with the most, which is Ron. He's going to pass it back to me, but I like to deflect and give it to him because at the end of the day, your questions and the topics that Ron talk about are really what makes these calls and what we all learn from. So Ron, welcome to the call. Glad you're here tonight.
Hey, Dover. Thanks again so much. And again, I really appreciate you and everything you do with me personally, as well as for the company of Enriching Gifts as well. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you. But anyway, I wanted to kind of get right into things. I know that everybody probably isn't, but should be watching the news a little bit. I've watched it this week. And boy, I tell you, last week I ended up in a fury about COVID conversation. I'm going to start one off tonight because the Biden got on national television yesterday evening and talked about, that there's over 200 million Americans now vaccinated, but yet we still can't get back to social gathering. We still can't get back to our normal lives, can't open up restaurants, all this other nonsense because him and Dr. Fauci say, no, everybody has to be vaccinated before we can get back to normal. Well, first of all, that is such a lame, stupid, idiotic statement. I mean, even a third grader knows what immunization is all about, and especially most people know what their immune system's already about. 98% of the people that have actually been diagnosed with COVID-19 recovered on their own with no vaccination whatsoever. They've had it. Now we're supposed to all get it as a precautionary measure. And that is the dumbest, most idiotic thing I've ever heard anybody say. You don't go to the flu and get a flu shot every single year as a teenager or as a young adult as a potential preventing a cold or a flu, let alone something that allows you to go in and interact with society in a business someplace. So I'm just all up in arms. This stuff isn't even about COVID-19 anymore. It's so ridiculous. It's just about controlling all of our societal activities is what it's about. And, for anybody who doesn't think, and another statement he made, he talked about gathering and the super spreading events coming up, Memorial Day, 4th of July, those kind of things. And boy, you shouldn't even go anywhere near a crowd unless you've had a vaccination. If you aren't sick, you don't go get a vaccination. You just don't. There's a real virus inside of those shots. And God knows, we've heard all the internet stuff. I personally know for a fact there's a whole bunch of more stuff in those that they'll never ever tell you about. One, they don't want you to know, but two, they'll never disclose the contents of a vaccine because it makes the manufacturers liable if anything happens to you. And we all know, in case all of you haven't been watching TV, they now know that the Johnson & Johnson shot causes blood clots. And it's in a few people that they're aware of, a few hundred people that possibly might be affected. But this stuff kills people. I don't care if it's one. Nobody should be running out and grabbing this stupid shot that they're trying to force everybody into. And then I heard the best one of all today. Now, as of effective today, all 16 and older people can get a shot. 16 years and old. Now it's all available to the general public. Well, wait a second. If everybody's supposed to be following the science, like intelligent people do, because there is some science backing all of this, how many deaths were actually recorded below the age of 30? Below the age of 30, how many deaths were actually recorded below the age of 30? Out of the 500 and some thousand people that potentially died from COVID, which, by the way, that's false. If you had diabetes, previous heart disease, heart attacks, cancer, this, that, all of a sudden you got linked into everybody's dying of COVID. There was no complicating factors like 4-stage cancer or any of this kind of stuff. Another bunch of ridiculous nonsense. But again, how many people died below the age of 30? There was less than 13 out of 500 and some thousand people. And yet now we're all supposed to go tell our kids to go get shot. That's how ridiculous this whole thing is getting. It's not even anywhere near about COVID-19 because those kind of statistics don't warrant anybody, and nobody is at risk in that age group, and especially teenagers K through kindergarten. There's very, very little. Again, there's probably maybe 10, 15 deaths out of all the people that have died that they want to say passed away from COVID were younger infant children. And even these new strains, that's how they perpetuate and keep this whole thing going of these new strains. Oh, gee, they're just popping up everywhere. Well, that'll get us through this lockdown for another couple of years, give them control and do their agenda and all the crap they want to accomplish through this thing. So I just I don't know. I just get so infuriated with all the lies and the mistruths that are being spread. And there's so many people that just do not understand the human body and your body's own immunity and the way your immune system works. I don't know, it just infuriates me. And that nobody ever should be afraid of this thing anymore. It's come, it's gone. Most people that got it didn't even know they had it, and their body developed a natural immunity. And here's something else that's actually a lie. It's a bold-faced lie. They talk about people having COVID-19, but they're asymptomatic, meaning they don't display any symptoms. But yet, you are a carrier and can give COVID-19 to someone else. If you're asymptomatic, chances are, and there's a very high percentage of chance, well over 99%, your body's already developed the antibodies that destroys the virus. So how are you now contagious to anybody? How are you contagious? It's like having the measles. Yeah, you're contagious during the first first 7 to 10 days while you still got the little bumps and blisters on you. But once they actually start to heal, you're no longer contagious. Your body built an antibody. Your body has destroyed the measles. That's why all your scabs are healing up and stuff. They're no longer little bumps and blisters. And you're no longer contagious. And that's the exact same thing with your body works with any of these flus, viral bacterias and viruses. Your body is going to develop an antibody. It's going to destroy it within you. Once it's destroyed, there's no way you can affect somebody else because you don't have it. It's not active within you anymore. So just wanted to clear that up and make that very clear to everybody. This whole nonsense about making me feel guilty because I don't have a shot. Now I'm somehow going to go out and contaminate and contage and give my COVID-19 to everybody I come in. That's just plain nuts and BS. Most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And for anybody, Dr. Fauci and anybody else, to go out and perpetuate that lie is just plain disgusting, especially when it's done on national TV and especially when it's done to younger people and even the more ignorant adult population that really don't understand this whole immunity and antibodies and the way this whole thing works. So that's really what I had to get off my chest tonight. And with that being said, I don't want to go on and on. I want to just open it up and see if we have anybody on the call that has any questions or any issues with illness and disease themselves other than COVID-19. Because that's what I'm really here for each and every week. I want to make sure that people have access to get their questions answered with disease, illness conditions, drugs, things like that they don't understand. Get a different perspective. That's what I'm here for. Give you the natural, I won't call it an alternative. I'll just give you the truth and the facts and let you decide. Because everybody should have that right given to them. If the facts are laid out in front of them honestly and with great integrity and detail, then you make your own decision. But you're no longer making it out of fear and ignorance. You're making it out of education and understanding. So, Dover, I'm going to pass it back to you, and we'll just go ahead and open it up for live questions and comments.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And Ron, and so if anyone has a question, please unmute yourself. And as you're thinking of your question, or if someone wants to just come on out, please do. While you're doing that, Ron, I really appreciate your candor and your humility, because it's a very touchy subject, and some of my background that you could piss off the wrong people, pardon my French. And so I love how you're able to be delicate, but be truthful and straightforward to the point of what it's. Again, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that's what you're sharing. However, it comes with some knowledge, some experience, and some know-how. So I just want to say I appreciate it and thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And like I said, it's one thing to come out and piss people off. Like, I know where you're coming from, Dover. I know exactly what you're talking about. And, but the bottom line is I don't have to worry about pissing off those kind of people because the facts back me up. What I can't stomach and stand is when people come out and literally full-face lie to the American people, to my friends, people on this call, my customers, my family members. That's something I'm never going to put up with. And this needs to be called out for what it is. It's just, there's no more COVID anything. None of the crap they're saying on national television even makes an ounce of sense anymore. It's all about agenda-driven politics, and, you know, I don't want to go there, but it's not about COVID anymore.
Right.
It's
And Ron,
getting so ridiculous.
let me say
it's
this,
not even
Ron,
funny.
too, please, well, because I'm just feeling like this should be addressed as well. And please, if anyone has a question, I'm kind of on my soapbox right now. Please ask away here. Ron, you know, there's some pretty strong facts that you shared with us, and obviously belief system on the vaccination. So for those of you that have been vaccinated or chosen to go that route, I'm not going to speak for you. Share with us. I don't believe you're downing it or poo-pooing it. You're just saying, that's what I want to know.
I'm just saying that where it's at today has absolutely no validity to it whatsoever. When it first came out, I was all for vaccinations. Hey, this stuff is a little bit worse than the normal 48 to 65,000 people that die every year from the annual flu and influenza. You know, there was hundreds of thousands of people. But with that being said, let me be very, very clear. They have lied repeatedly about these statistical deaths. Anybody that died just in the first 6 months, I don't care whether you had heart disease, suffered heart attacks and strokes previously, whether you're in last stage cancer, if you died and all of a sudden you had COVID or even had a symptom of COVID because now you're dead, they're not going to take the time to do blood tests and stuff. Oh, no, he died of COVID. So even that 500,000 people that passed away, did you also notice? This is something that really ticks me off too. Did you notice how many deaths were reported for the cold and flu season this year, which by the way is now over?
Was it zero? I don't know.
In 2020 were reported for the annual death of the annual influenza, that 48 to 65,000 every single year. How many deaths were reported this year? Less than 1,000. In fact, I think it was less than 500. Now, how do you go from 48,000 people average every year to less than 500 deaths that are directly related to the annual cold and flu? Nope, they took all of those and threw them into COVID too. It had nothing to do with COVID. So like I said, I just don't even know where I can turn to believe anything that they're saying out there. None of it makes any sense. You know, and like I said, if you want to go get a vaccination, by all means, that's your choice. But I have my personal opinion, and I would never get a vaccination not knowing the full disclosure of the contents and the background side effects that were done in all those clinical trials. And that stuff is buried by every single pharmaceutical company that there is. They report the bare minimums just to get it registered, and they're sure not going to disclose all the details to the general public. But like I said, you know, why would anybody allow our great government to inject them with some kind of a solution to where there's no ingredient list? Defies, and I've never ever had a flu, just so we're really honest, I've never ever had a cold or flu vaccination, never in my whole life. And I haven't had a cold or flu since April 23rd, 1984. If you have a good, clean blood system and you have the ability to create a big, Hercules strong immune system, the way I have it living within my body, you shouldn't have to worry about annual colds and flus or anything else like that, giving you an illness, let alone killing you. You shouldn't have to do that. And you don't have to do that if you really understand how we can actually create a healthy immune system. That's why, and back in 2009, the FDA came after me and wanted to close me down. And it was September 12th, in fact. And if you go to my website, you'll see that I was issued an FDA letter for making drug claims and cure claims on a dietary supplement website. And since then, we've cleared all of that up. I've taken down anything that would associate with a cure, prevention, disease, whatever. But on that website, it still to this day has the exact same phrase that I always started with. Just 2 words were taken out and 2 words were inserted. Eliminating disease and illness across the world by strengthening the human immune system. That's still on our website today. And that's a fact. Only the human immune system can prevent, treat, reverse, and eliminate a disease or illness from the human body. Only the immune system. So I'm not promoting cures. I'm not promoting prevention and treatment and this and that. All I'm saying is we have identified very specific nutrients that support very specific aspects of human immune system cell functioning. And now what we can do with the human immune system is nothing less than a miracle and incredible. And your immune system will take care of everything and anything that's potentially damaging, harmful, or a disease in your body. Products don't do it. Products never will do it, neither will drugs. Only your immune system can prevent, treat, reverse, and cure your body of a disease or illness. But if you know how to support that process and that system, you should be able to really rely on miracles in your life each and every day and great health for your whole life. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Awesome. Well, who has the first question? I believe someone, let me see, 702, if they have a question.
Hi, Ron. This is Tana in North Dakota. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about eczema and psoriasis, how you develop it and what's the best way to treat it.
Okay, well, how it develops, eczema, psoriasis, these are all skin conditions. And you notice they're almost all topical. And the reason you get plaque psoriasis, which your skin actually gets really chalky, it flakes, but it's so dried and damaged underneath the surface that it actually cracks and bleeds. And then you got eczema, which is a much more milder form of it. Seborrhea is another one, which is kind of a little bit more advanced than the eczema, but plaque psoriasis is the worst of the three types of psoriasis you can have. But all of these skin conditions are basically all the same cause. They're just in different severities and the different stages of development. That's why they have these different diseases, names for them. But what happens is you start to, and believe me, some of this stuff is genetic. And when it's genetic, what I'm talking about is your lymphatic system becomes plugged. It becomes very polluted and just very, very toxic. Well, all of this is going to come back to your diet, but more importantly, not necessarily your diet, but your genetics and your ability to digest what you're consuming in your daily meals. Eventually, you consume enough garbage that your body can't digest properly and completely. It's going to be pushed into the lymphatic system. And that's when your lymphatics become toxic. And it's all because of a lack of digestive enzymes. Either your body doesn't have specific enzymes when you were made up as a baby to digest specific foods. So therefore, you have these allergen proteins coming in, causing inflammation. Your body doesn't know what to do with them. Your immune system's all plugged up because your proteins aren't being digested. Your red blood cells are all aggregated together. You're losing oxygen, so your body runs highly acidic because, again, you're not digesting proteins and because your body doesn't have a high amount of production of specific enzymes to take care of the diet. So that's how this all starts. And as you age, then it gets even more complicated. That's why people with psoriasis as young children and eczema and things like that, they have digestive disorders. I've worked with at least 4 of them. One of them was Pastor Dan's daughter, Dawn, right in Miles City, Montana. And she was actually getting a cream that cost over $700 a month, a cream. And it really wasn't doing that much good. And she was, I think, 14 or 13 when she started doing this. And she'd never, ever worn shorts, never, ever worn a short sleeve shirt either. And she was just entering into high school. So she might have been 14, 15, something like that. Anyway, I got her started on my enzymes, the Steromax, our protocol. And literally, I remember this very clearly because I was over in South Africa and I got a call from my sister-in-law, Shelly, who used to go to their church a lot. And she says, I need to ask you something. She goes, do you still have a lot of this stuff available? I mean, is it hard to get? And I said, no, I got a whole warehouse full. I said, why would you ask that? And she goes, well, because Pastor Dan told me to ask you. And as soon as you get back, he wants to buy a whole bunch. And I said, well, what for? And he says, it's only been a month and a half, and his daughter's plaque psoriasis is almost completely gone. And she's literally running around in shorts and a short sleeve shirt. And he says, boy, that in itself is a miracle because she's had this almost since birth. So that's just one example of all of the different people I've been able to help. In fact, I don't know if you've ever heard this or not, Tanya, but I used to work with the National Psoriasis Foundation director here in America, for the National Psoriasis Foundation of America. He had really, really severe plaque psoriasis, and I was able to help him eliminate his psoriasis. And we were talking about putting together a private label product specifically for all the people in America that belong to the Psoriasis Foundation, which is in the millions. And he ended up passing away. He got in a car accident before we could actually get any of that done. So got a lot of experience with it, but that's the first thing you need to understand is how it all starts. Where does it come from? And then, like I was going to say, and then what compounds all of that genetic stuff and the diet stuff is for every 10 years you live your life, your body's going to produce 8 to 10% less digestive enzymes every decade you live your life. So it really becomes a problem once you're in your 40s and 50s, and it gets way worse in your 60s and 70s. My cousin Milo Huber, that's why you never ever saw him in shorts, ever. Never saw him in a short sleeve shirt either, ever, because he had plaque psoriasis all over his thighs and his elbows. And he was a businessman. He sold clothes and had a clothing store, so he was very conscious about all of that. But he started getting my Steromax and my enzymes and the aloe, and it was helping him. But then his doctor said he didn't like it. You know, he didn't think that he needed any of that stuff. And so he went back on his statin drugs and went back on his blood thinners. And I'm just like, okay, well, it's going to come back. And sure enough, it did. It was back within less than 2 months. So, but those are some of the factors, and that's what causes plaque psoriasis, is all this toxicity being pushed into the lymphatic system. And if it's not being digested where the body's metabolizing it, either assimilate it as a nutritional value or some kind of enzyme activating factor, and it's not being digested, it can't be eliminated. So now your body's trying to figure out, where do I store it? Where can I push it? Because it's got to get it out of the bloodstream. There's too much vital stuff in there that the body relies on. So it pushes them into lymphatics. And the lymphatics is that little drainage area just below your 5th layer of skin. And your skin only has 5 layers. So it's right in that 5th layer and just below that in your layer of skin, your lymphatic drainage system. And that gets pushed there. And once it gets so much toxicity, there's only one place it can go up. And that's straight out the skin. So that's when your body tries to push all those toxins from the lymphatics through the skin. And unfortunately, and by the way, skin is the largest elimination pathway organ in the human body. Skin isn't an organ, but it's a tissue. And it's the largest elimination pathway that the body has to eliminate internal toxicity. So that's how it all gets started. And like I said, difference between plaque psoriasis, and there's another one in between there, eczema, seborrhea. They're all just in various stages of the development of lymphatic toxicity. So how do you get rid of that? First of all, let's get to the enzymes. Make sure you're digesting everything you consume where your body can metabolize it, which means to use it. And if it uses it, then it'll use it and eliminate the waste. It's real easy to eliminate waste when everything is fully broken down and digested. So that's the first thing. Second thing, your immune system is a great help with that, because a lot of your immune system cells, especially neutrophils, are found in the lymphatic system. Why? Because it's so toxic there. All those immune system cells are breaking up toxins. They should have never ever got there, but they are there. So build up your immune system with the Steromax. And with anything, whether it's psoriasis or whether it's a cut or a bruise, or whether it's just good, healthy skin, then you want to take the aloe, because that accelerates the healing and the reproductive rate of the human cell. So it'll help you heal faster and all of that. And so the protocol I gave Pastor Dan's daughter, Dan, and Milo and all that was the enzymes, the Steromax, the probiotics, the Metabolic Complete, and the Aloe Max. Those are the 5 that I had everybody use, and it works tremendously well. But like with anything, the older you are, the more toxic your body has to get rid of, and then the slower you're going to heal. because as we age, you notice that people die from broken hips. You're never going to see a teenager or a 20, 30-year-old die from a broken hip, ever. They'll heal and they'll be back out on the football field or on the track field or in the local bar, wherever they're going to be. They'll be back in there having fun within 3 months. You have somebody in their 70s and 80s break a hip, there's a good chance that they'll develop complications and pass away from those complications. They're not going to recover from a broken hip. And that's certainly true in the 80s and 90s.
Ron, is
So,
it common for the psoriasis to pick an area and just kind of concentrate on that area? What I've noticed with this friend
Yep.
of mine is
Yep.
she's got it
Yep.
in two, several locations. It's not all over her body. It's just kind of picks a
Right.
certain spot.
Yep. And that's absolutely correct. It's not all over the whole body. I've never seen anybody with have it all over the whole body. It's either on your knees, your thighs, or on the back of your elbows, or on your neck area. There's another. And you look at the way the body's circulation system is put together, what happens with the lymphatics is it's going to get to an area of inflammation. And then there's immobility. It's never going to happen on the joint, but it'll happen near the joint, just above your knees. Like I said, you'll always have it in your thighs. You're not going to have it on your kneecaps or on your elbows themselves. It's usually just above, behind, or around the joint. And that's because of the way the circulation is. So the lymphatics have different pressure points or volume points, I'll call it. And the thinner area that you get to, the more likely it is that's where it's going to push and pop, because there's not enough volume there to keep it from not going through the skin. So you're right. It's never full body. It's always local spots, localized. And once it's there, you notice how it never really spreads. Once it's there, that's always going to be your problem area. And that again, that's why it's always going to stay there, because that's your lowest point of circulation.
Thank you, Ron. That's helpful.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions, comments for the call? Anybody?
Hi, Ron. James here from Sydney, Australia.
Yeah. Hey, James,
Hi.
before you start, just give me one more second. I want to finish up with one comment for Tanya and psoriasis. You know,
Okay.
one of the worst things that you can do in the basic treatment for psoriasis and all that stuff, they want to give you an immunosuppressive because somehow they think it's your immune system. It's not an autoimmune disorder, but it's your immune system contributing to the breakouts and stuff. Don't ever let a doctor do that, because that's simply not the facts. Worst thing you could do is suppress your immune system, because that means the infections that are going to occur because that skin cracking and all that toxicity in there, that's actually going to become a more permanent problem. And that's going to lead to some other things that are a lot more severe than just cracking skin or a little bit of discolored, chalky, flaking skin. You could really have severe infections that lead to amputations and things like that. So again, that's why the National Psoriasis Foundation was so excited when they got this results and this stuff about telling everybody about it, because it got rid of the risks of the drugs and the immunosuppressive treatments that were out there. So just wanted to finish that up. Definitely I wouldn't get an immunosuppressor of any kind just because you've got some kind of a plaque or a psoriasis or eczema condition. That's not going to do anything to get rid of that. It's not going to prevent it. It's not going to treat it. It's a whole different set of problems that cause those kind of conditions, not an imbalanced immune system at all. Okay, James, now go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. What sort of protocol would you suggest to a guy in his 60s who has MS? He's a diabetic, and he has a history of heart disease.
So he has multiple sclerosis. Did you say he was a diabetic?
Yes.
And he has heart disease?
Yes.
Wow. How old is this person? What's his age? Do you know?
Oh, around about 60, 63, 64.
And you don't know if his parents are still alive or not?
I'm not clear
I'm just
on
trying to
that.
get a gauge on what his genetics look like, how much lifespan he has to him, because that's going to make a big difference once you get over the age of 55. I mean,
Sure.
people are people that, like my family, doesn't live beyond the age of 65 normally. My mom, my dad, my brothers, I mean, they were all dead in their late 60s, mid 60s. My cousin Milo died at 71. My older brother Willie died at 69. I just don't, and all my mom, my dad, their parents, my aunts and uncles, none of those guys lived into 65s, as you guys all have heard many, many times. So, my genetics, they all died very, very young. So genetics have a big part to play in that. That's why I'm kind of asking that question. Because 65, if mom and dad passed away in their early 70s, boy, there's just not a lot of cellular reproductive capacity there to heal any of this stuff at that late stage of life. But if he's got parents that are living into the 80s and 90s and they're in their 60s, oh yeah, you got 30% of your lifespan left yet. You got a lot of time to do some cellular functioning and reproducing with. But aside from knowing the genetics or not knowing, what I would tell anybody is and I was just talking to someone today about this. We're talking about the high protein and the keto diets and all that stuff. The very first and most important thing of any aspect of not just treating a disease, but getting the most efficient functioning out of the human body is to make sure you're capable of digesting your diet and extracting nutrients for cellular and bodily function. So I don't care who you are. Like I've said before, I don't care who it is on this planet. Every single person that lives and breathes and is a human being of any kind should be on a digestive enzyme over the age of 30. I just don't care who it is, because by then you're going to grow and your body produces maximum amount of metabolic enzymes somewhere between the ages of you start with your maximum amount of enzymes to begin with that any cell can produce at birth to 4 years old. And then from 4 up until puberty, about 10, 11, 12, right in there, that's your maximum growth potential spurt, where your body grows and develops most of it. And then you have your height and you're filling out your muscularity, your development of breast, things like that. And that all goes in until about 17, 18 years old, 19, you've already peaked out. And by the time you're 20, it's all downhill after that, as far as your body and what it has to work with cellularly as well as enzymatically. Because after that, your body is going to start slowing down its cellular reproductive rate, which means you can't maintain that high level of enzymes. Your body only has the amount of enzymes as the amount of times you can reproduce a cell to work with. That's it. So enzymes are critically important, but to activate them, that all comes from the nutrition and the diet. So I just tell everybody, first place everybody starts with anything, make sure your body is able to digest and extract the nutrients from whatever meal source you have. To utilize the nutrition and expel the waste. So enzymes and probiotics, those are both hand in hand with the overall digestive process. And then you need really good antioxidants, prevent all that oxidation from occurring, which allows for the accumulation of toxins in the body. Uric acid is a crystallized form instead of a green syrup. You got plaque, which is LDL cholesterol in an oxidized form instead of a syrup. I mean, most of this syrupy stuff I'm referring to, that's circulation. You should be able to circulate and do a lot of different things and potentially eliminate those kind of toxins eventually. But if it's not being digested, it's not going to circulate, and then it will oxidize. So again, enzymes, probiotics, and some kind of an antioxidant like Metabolic Complete or the Heart Algae. And that's where you start from. Those are the 3 fundamental absolutes must have by anybody.
Okay, great.
And the protease enzymes that are in our enzymes, they'll actually thin the blood, which will help tremendously a lot with heart disease, high blood pressure, things like that. Because thinning in the blood is what they give you drugs for, like Plavix and Coumadin, things like that. A thinner blood will reduce your risk of heart attack or stroke because it doesn't impair the circulation, which builds up blood pressure to the heart. And that's just a natural effect that protease enzymes have. Lucky for us, it's tremendously beneficial to the human body. Did you have any other questions aside from that, James?
No, not really. I guess being a diabetic, that the protease enzymes would be pretty important component to, to support the,
Well, yeah,
all-
the diabetes, I had a protocol, a guy by the name of Steve Raber over in Madison, Wisconsin. I know you guys have heard me talk about him so many times in the past, but it's important to know, this guy was a severe diabetic, ready to die, 6'2" and just barely over 100 pounds. And he was on dialysis. He had no kidneys left. His liver, he was on a transplant list for a liver transplant. He was on dual kidney transplant list because neither one of them worked above 15%. And if you have 25% or less, the medical community calls that a dead kidney. But anyways, and yeah, he had all kinds of health issues and health problems, but mainly dealing with the diabetes. I got him, his sister-in-law, Katie, snuck him in a bottle of our digestive enzymes. And within 2 weeks, the nurse comes in, asks Mary, his wife, what are they doing differently? And she said, nothing. Well, a month later, the doctor and the hospital administrator and 2 other nurses, plus the nurse came. There was 5 of them in the room. And they asked him, what are you doing now? We're not here anymore. You're not doing nothing. What are you doing that we're not aware of? And that's the way the doctor rephrased it to her. And she goes, well, what's he taking that we're not aware of? And she goes, well, we just gave him this stuff because you said, we could give him anything because he wasn't expected to live. And he says, well, what is this? I don't know. We just got it up from a health food store out in Wisconsin. And so the doctor literally called me from his hospital room in the dialysis ward up in Madison, Wisconsin hospital. And he says, who are you and what is this stuff? So I explained to him who I was, what my company was about, and I explained to him how that all worked. But he was out of that hospital. He'd been in there 5 years and on dialysis for the 5 years. He wasn't able to come home and visit his family and stuff. They had to go see him. And his kids and stuff were only able to see him maybe about twice a week at the most. They were Amish. And, I had him off all of his insulin, all of his meds, all of that stuff. They bought a farm. He was out farming and stuff like that and got a staph infection and ended up dying in a coma because it went to his brain. But as far as his diabetes and all that other stuff going, I had him off all of that completely in less than 3 years. He had a normal, and he was off his transplant list as both his kidneys fully recovered and his liver, the hepatitis was gotten rid of because of what we were able to do for the immune system. And his liver fully regenerated 100%. And his kidneys were recovered 96 and 93%. So that's what you do. I mean, and that's the protocol I use for a diabetic is the enzymes, the Steromax, the probiotics, the Metabolic Complete, and the Aloe Max. Those are the ones that I use for diabetes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Anybody?
Yes, I do, Ron.
Yeah,
Hello.
Ron Van. I'm trying to find out people that have had strokes, what kind of a protocol to help them out if they really get any help anymore?
Well, a stroke,
Ease on
again,
it.
the first thing the doctor's going to do if you had a stroke is put you on a blood thinner. Well, rather than go on a blood thinner, why not just take the digestive enzymes? Because the protease enzymes in the plant enzymes are high enough. The natural side effect of proteolytic enzymes is thinning of the blood. So you're getting great nutrition. You're getting 500 to 700% increased nutrition from your meal source, but you're also thinning the blood naturally. So you shouldn't have to go on a blood thinner for the potential prevention of another heart attack or stroke. That's why I take enzymes, and I've been taking them religiously for over 30 years, and I don't have any problems with blood pressure. None. In fact, I have optimal blood pressure. My doctor's jealous when I go see her half the time. She goes, man, I don't know how you do it, but geez, I wish I could do that. I'm like, I could show you how to do it, but I know you wouldn't do it. So no sense of talking about it. Well, my cholesterol levels, but to this date, my HDL is still more than twice higher than my LDL, reversed of just about every other person on this planet. And I have heart disease in my genetics, and yet there is nothing in my blood test. I've never had chest pains or anything like that. I've always had really, really good blood work, and I've always had really, really good health up until about a year and a half ago when I burned my feet so severely. I've got some complications going on because of that, but other than that, I mean, I've got a very, very healthy body. My mind still wants to go, 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 and my feet just say no, no, no. So, but anyway, you start with the enzymes and you start with the metabolic complete. Slow down that oxidation of plaque, because plaque does become a issue for some people. When they do have heart attacks and strokes, there's always plaque buildup through oxidation, and we can slow way down and almost totally prevent plaque from oxidizing to the point where it'll accumulate in large volumes in your blood vessels. So that's what you do for heart disease.
Okay.
Enzymes, probiotics, and some metabolic complete.
Okay.
Okay.
Super. And another question,
All right.
Ron, and again, I got somebody that's got a stage 4 colon cancer. They're asking, what can they do at this point?
Well, with anything, with any kind of cancer, you're going to go back to, none of my products are going to cure or treat cancer, but the enzymes will go back and clean up the bloodstream, keep all the immune complexes and the poorly digested protein from your diet out of the bloodstream, so your immune system, T lymphocytes, can do what they're designed to do. That's why most people get cancer, by the way, is because their immune system becomes compromised because of the shit in because of the crap from your diet getting in the bloodstream and clogging up all the receptors, which are little openings in and around your T lymphocytes as well as your neutrophils. And so the toxicities can't be eliminated from the blood. You've got no immune system capability of getting to those toxins, whether it be viral, bacterial, chemical, whatever it is. The immune system just plugged up. So in order to get that whole immune system going to where it's destroying cancer cells, first thing you got to do is get back to digesting your food very cleanly and completely. Then clean up the bloodstream. Get rid of all those proteins that are clogging up those immune system receptors, so they can actually engulf those cancer cells and destroy them, or secrete enzymes and destroy them. The neutrophil is going to engulf. A T cell just secretes enzymes that literally dissolves whatever it's in contact with. And I've got an actual video of our enzymes dissolving a cancer cell on a VHS video that's 17 minutes long. That's my formula. That's nobody else's that's my formula. So, and that's another reason why people should just get on the enzymes and stay on the enzymes. And I can't say this enough. I need to just quit talking about how you take this to treat this disease, how you take that to get rid of that condition or that disease. If you just stay on the enzymes, your immune system will never become compromised. It's when your body, as you age, you start losing the ability to digest, and all of that food junk gets all hung up in the bloodstream, and then it starts to gather and becomes a real problem because it oxidizes, it hardens. And now it's just going to sit there and circulate round and around and around and around until it's going to get either stuck and stored someplace, like in the lymphatics, like psoriasis and things like that, or it's just going to be digested by your immune system cells because the bloodstream's clean and those receptors are open to do what they're designed to do. So can't say that enough. I'm almost over talking about what do I do for this, what do I do for that. To hell with this and that. Let's just talk about how you keep your body healthy and working the way it's designed to function. That will take care of all the rest of that stuff. So if you've got a disease or illness, there's a reason why, and it's going to come back to digestion and how your digestion's inhibiting your immune system's ability to function, to take care of what's developing and diseased in your body. That's the bottom line. You can't address anything without addressing digestion first. And I'm not going to say without addressing the diet first, because I can literally take a McDonald's cheeseburger with 3 of my capsules and turn it into complete digested chocolate milk in 22 minutes. So that whatever's in there hey, it's not a threat to the body anymore. Chemicals, coloring agents, that's just passed right on through because it's fully digested and broken down. But that is the key to having a nice quality of life throughout a very long lifespan, is having the ability to digest, utilize, and eliminate whatever it is you're consuming in your daily diet. It all starts there. I can't say that enough, and I bet I've said that 20 million times already.
Okay.
Anything else you wanted to ask me about? Because I know there was another gentleman trying to ask you a question a little bit ago too. Do you need anything else, man?
I'm done there, Ron.
Okay. Someone else was trying to ask a question about time Van was asking. Well, go ahead and ask your question or comment.
Thank you for taking my question. This is Ricardo in Southern California. Ron, with regards
Yeah.
to enriching gift products, my dad is 83, dealing with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia's kicking in, osteoporosis. Both of my parents broke their hips about 5 years ago. So I'd like to get your feedback on that. What do you recommend with regards to enriching gift products?
Well, first thing is I'm going to be very honest with you and really blunt. You know, I call it brutally honest. You know, you mentioned, if I heard it right, he's 83 years old. So chances are we're not going to eliminate those diseases and illnesses at that age. We can improve them? Can we make them less of an effect and a damaging way to the body? Absolutely. But I just want to be really honest with you. If you think you're going to get rid of Parkinson's and this and that and dementia and at that age, when you have very little to work with, you got to remember you've got a very damaged, broken down body. It's like trying to sit there and run a car that's got about 30 things wrong with it, from the engine to the brakes to the lights to the ignition to everything else. Bald tires, they even got the radial cords. I mean, it's just want to make sure that you understand. I'm not going to sit there and tell you we're going to be able to help him and get him over all of that. It's just, anybody that says that, turn the other direction, start running. They're not being truthful with you. But with that being said, again, I'm going to go back to the digestive enzymes first and then support the immune system second, because your immune system is the only mechanism the body has outside of nutrition itself that was going to give you any kind of good quality of life. That is your largest factor, determining factor of the quality of life you live each and every day through for your entire lifespan, is your immune system's ability to function efficiently. So the enzymes, the Steromax, definitely the probiotics, and the aloe. You know, the aloe, even at that age, we can still speed up the reproductive rate of the human cell almost 3 times faster at any age. So that's one benefit that I can tell you. We do have the ability to cellularly reproduce at an accelerated rate. But now, here comes the honest part. You ever heard of the thing called the telomere? That is the length of that telomere in everybody's cell. It's part of the DNA of the human cell. The length of that telomere is the determining factor on how many times. Now, we can reproduce it 3 times faster, but what I can't do is reproduce it at the end of that length of the telomere. When it's done, it's done. So as long as we have capacity to reproduce, because we have a long telomere, we can reproduce that cell up to 3 times faster. But when you start talking the age you're talking at, 83, 85, 6, 90, boy, you have less than the last 10, 15% of your lifespan left at that age, if you're lucky. So there's things we can do for it to slow it down. There's things we can do to mildly improve it, but there's nothing I can do that's going to eliminate that. Just being honest.
Understood. I
Okay.
appreciate that. Understood. I appreciate that. Just one last quick question. Are you still doing a blood analysis?
I really don't myself much anymore, because like I said, I've really got some real complications with mobility because of the burns on my feet 1.5 years ago. I used to go out and drive a bus a couple times a year all over the United States, and I no longer do that. if somebody wanted to come up here to our training center, I could do it here. But as far as me traveling anywhere to do it, I can't do it. Dover, he's been trained by me. He might be able to help you out there. But outside of those two options, yeah, I don't need to do much with blood as far as like blood screenings and all that stuff like I used to do. I'm pretty much isolated up here in the training center.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ron. That's it. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Anybody else?
Ricardo, I would suggest. Hey,
Go
Ron,
ahead,
yeah, I
Dover.
just want to chime in real quick. I would suggest, Ricardo, that if you have the means, I know you're in Southern California. I know the story, the background there. By all means, like Ron threw it out on the table. I hope everyone picks up what he puts down there. If you can make it to the training center and have Ron analyze you and/or your father or whomever's blood under the microscope, by all means, do it. At the end of the day, yes, I will make myself available to you. However, I'm just going to be candid with you. There's nobody better on the planet Earth, in my opinion. So, anyone else with any questions, please, before we wrap up the call tonight?
I guess Van, one more time. So, Ron, are you still certifying people for the blood analysis? I guess for training up there at the center or anything like that, so people come up and certify.
It would be very specialized. I mean, I don't really promote it and do much of it anymore. I mean, I'm open to doing it, but not. It would have to be on my timeline. I just can't throw myself out there like I used to. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you much.
Yeah, and the other question I had for the gentleman down in California, I guess for me, what are you looking to find out through a blood test? I mean, what would be your reasoning for having the blood test done? What are you looking to try to find out?
Sorry about that. I had to turn off the truck. So basically, I mean, it's just like you said, as far as improvement. So it's like, are there any other issues that he's dealing with that we don't see? But obviously, can a blood test provide that information? So if we were so basically, you recommended enzyme, Steromax, probiotics, and aloes. But come to find out after you do a blood test, it's like, okay, you know what? While we're at it, I noticed this, and I'm recommending this. So, I mean,
right. No, okay. No, I just wanted to see what you were looking to find out, because you're absolutely correct. You know, one thing, if you have a lot of issues, always go get a blood test, always. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to identify other things in there that, if they're not contributing factors to the actual issues and the illnesses you suffer from, they're probably going to be an issue very shortly that you're not even aware of yet. So I'm not trying to discourage you or anything. I just wanted to see where you were at and what you wanted to know. But you thought it all through, and it's a really good answer. I appreciate it. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Dover, I think we're probably done unless anybody else has any last minute questions or comments. Anybody? Okay. I'll just turn it over to Dover and we can close it out, buddy.
All right, awesome. Great call as always, Ron. And again, I learned something. I mean, I just every single time. So you mentioned food coloring and food dyes and how the enzymes break that down. Like, I had an aha moment, like, wow. So this yellow number 5, this blue number this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So again, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I don't want to get you on another, I do, but for sake of time for everyone, I'm just going to say thank you and appreciate you. We'll be back next week. And again, we're going to be closing out here come the end of May through the summer. So soak it up while you can. Invite your guests. If anyone that you know is having some challenges that could benefit from the information and the education that's being shared here, please, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. So with that, thanks again, Ron. Everyone have a great night, and we'll see everyone later.